Hi, this is Billy Sherwood, and you're listening to Sonic Perspectives.
Hey, welcome everybody. This is Scott Medina for Sonic Perspectives. We're on the phone right now with Billy Sherwood, who's talking to us as he's on tour with Yes for the Royal Affair Tour. Welcome, Billy.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to catch up. We're going to be talking about your new album, Citizen, that's just about to come out. The second Citizen album, actually.
Well, yeah, I'm excited for that to get out there, finally.
I bet. Well, let's start off just discussing that. You know, for those who may not have caught the first album a few years ago, you have a unique approach to songwriting for this material.
Yeah, it's a concept record. The label, when I made the first one, the debut, asked me to come up with a concept album, which is a little bit tricky because all the concepts that are available have been taken by other artists, if you will, over the decades of rock and roll. So it was kind of hard to think about what to make a concept about. And then the thought came to me, what if it was this wandering soul type of reincarnated life that just jumps from different person to different person, and we get a perspective of what was going on in that person's life and what it was about. And that afforded me the ability to be able to write about things in history and the various characters in history and also have some fiction involved as well, but just putting this character into some unique settings. So it was the first album was a lot of fun to write and touch on various people in history. And so I just kind of now was able to do a second one and carrying on in that kind of theme. So it's been a lot of fun, this project.
Yeah. How do you choose which historical figures are going to make it to the album? Do you have a long list of people that you'd come up with that you'd like to write about at some point?
It comes from many different angles. When I first started writing music for this project, I didn't have anyone in mind yet, and the first song I worked on was just the music to the song "The Partisan," and it was really aggressive and feeling really like a lot of angst on the track and stuff. And so I started thinking about tyrants and dictators and who would be fitting this type of music. And somehow I ended up writing a song about Adolf Hitler's rise to power and subsequent fall. So that happens that way, and then other times there's things that will trigger my thoughts and have me writing it from a different perspective, maybe starting with just a lyric, as was the case with the song Sophia, which is about the first AI robot ever to be made a citizen of a country. This AI robot is a citizen of Saudi Arabia. And I thought that was an interesting thing to write about, and the sort of looking at the song like maybe it's not such a great thing. Maybe we're on the verge of making ourselves extinct by virtue of going down this AI road, finding the balance between computer and man, and so it's interesting, and it comes in different ways. I might be watching a movie and something will trigger me, as was the case watching Tombstone. I thought, I'm going to write a song about Wyatt Earp, so it comes from different places.
Yeah, which citizen character was the most intriguing for you to explore on this new album?
Um, well, I really enjoyed Sophia just because it's a factual being, not human, obviously, but the idea that a robot gets citizenship, I just found that to be mind blowing.
Yeah.
And so I just that was the most I think just bizarre and interesting one to go after. I thought.
Yeah, it was. You have a very wide range of characters the Citizen is played by on this album, but that definitely is the most far out there, I thought.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell us about the last track, Holding Quiet.
Um, that is a track that's supposed to essentially have the citizen character as a special operative warrior, and the idea that these guys just kind of lie in the shadows and they do their missions without any eyes on, and they're very stealthy and they're just kind of hanging out in the trees waiting for their moment to strike and just holding quiet while they prepare their operations. So it was sort of a little way of honoring the troops, if you will.
Right. Does the Citizen Project inherently elicit feelings of Chris Squire for you, seeing as he played on the title track on the first album, which was his final audio recording?
Well, yeah, I mean it's definitely a thought in my head that I can't call Chris and ask him to be on this one too. So what I felt would be nice to do is to honor him in some way on the record without being too obvious and sort of blatant about it. But I think Yes fans will, who buy the album, will understand. The last track being Amazing Grace was Chris's solo piece during the 80s. And so I remade Amazing Grace in that style that Chris did, and then just altered the words to sort of represent his passing, if you will. And in that way, he sort of bookends these two records. He's on the first track on the first one, and he's on the last track on the last one.
Yeah,
You know?
that's beautiful. Yeah. You had, in addition to Chris, you had so many guest artists on the first Citizens album, but on this one, you're playing everything yourself. Is that right?
Yeah, the label asked me, when they were talking about doing another one, what do you think about doing this one all yourself, just to make it different and to come at it from a different perspective? And I don't mind that at all. I enjoy working on my own in that way, because my solo world is the one area where I don't have to have anyone's opinions. Whereas, when I'm working on production, I'm constantly in conversations with people about what we're trying to achieve, and I feel obligated to make sure that they're getting their ultimate vision across while I try to maintain the integrity and the standards of the record. But sometimes that comes into just blatant opinion. So for me, doing things on my own, for lack of a better word, it's a selfish kind of process that I actually really enjoy, because I don't have to. I can play something, and if I like it, I don't have to turn around and ask them, "What do you think?" So it's kind of nice.
Yeah, I'm sure you need that balance with all of the people that you work with constantly.
Yeah, it's nice to have an outlet for that.
Yeah, totally. And along the lines of your solo career, you just celebrated the 20th anniversary of the release of your first solo album, The Big Piece.
Yeah, I can't believe that. It's amazing. I kind of blew my mind when I saw that was what the date was. Yeah, that was my first solo record, and was very experimental, and I actually have Jay Shellen playing drums on that, who's on the Yes tour with me right now. He and Alan White sharing the drum rolls up there, and but other than that, I think there might be a guest or two towards the end, but that was the first time that I tried to do a lot of things myself, and really enjoyed it. And it was a fun record to make. And it was old school analog 24 track. And there's a lot of audio tricks on there that that I can't quite pull off in the digital world anymore.
Uh,
But were certainly interesting recording with analog tape. So
yeah.
it's a nice thing. It's nice to have that.
1999. I mean, that must have been a pretty busy time for you too. You guys had you'd been very involved with the Open Your Eyes album, and then the Ladder must have come out right around the time of Big Peace. I would think too.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact sequence of events, but it was all happening around the same time, and yeah, life was very unique. It continues to be very unique, but each phase has its own little thing about it that identifies it. And when I think back to the Big Piece and all the things that were surrounding my world in that time frame, it was an interesting, fun time.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Do you recall how involved you were in the writing of the material on the album The Ladder from Yes?
Well, yeah, the latter we all wrote together as a band. We rented a converted church building in Vancouver, and we all went up to Vancouver and got our own little apartments in this high rise, and we basically lived in Vancouver for several months, and got up every day and went to the studio, and all six of us hammered out ideas and agreed on things, disagreed on other things, but somehow came to terms with enough material to start recording the album. But it was very much a group type of process. I mean, everybody brought in ideas that they'd had, little licks and riffs and chord passages and grooves and whatnot, but then it went into the sort of Yes mold, and everybody worked on those details together, and we came up with the latter, which was quite a cool record, actually, looking back on it.
Yeah, it really was. And how did you feel about working with an outside producer at that point? I think you'd probably produced an album or two previously with Yes, the Keys ones.
Yeah. Well, once I joined as a full member back then, I think the band felt like, you're either on this side of the glass or you're on the other side of the glass. Which one do you want? So I was quite happy to yield to a producer. And of course, Fairbairn's reputation and his craft was top drawer. And so I just, as I do when I'm working with people that I respect in terms of producers and engineers, I just try to absorb their techniques and see what they're doing and learn from it, and see what I can nick from it and put into my world.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
I learned a lot from doing it,
Yeah, and in production on your own work, whether it's with solo albums or Circa, it seems your lead vocals often have a particular processing effect on them. What effect do you use, and how did that become a signature style for you?
Well, there's all kinds of different effects as I go along, but I was a fan of music that explored effects. I wasn't listening to projects that were recorded really dry. I was always tending to listen to, Peter Gabriel, Genesis, Pink Floyd, Kate Bush, The Dreaming, even some of the old McCartney stuff from the first album on Ram, Dear Boy, and this material that is just flooded with flangers and reverb and delays and of course Yes, which always had that angelic sort of reverb haze to it. And those that's where my ear was always taking me to. And so over the years, by trial and error and asking other engineers, how'd you do that, I discovered my own sort of effects palette that I like to use and go to. But I've always been a fan of vocal effects and the way that it affects the feeling of the music. There's something for me about a dry vocal with nothing on it feels more uncomfortable to my ear than a normal voice, because there's reverb in life, there's echo in life, and as I sit here talking to you, this room has a bit of a 1.8 little decay to it that I'm hearing. So there's no vacuum anywhere where we are. So for me, when I hear a voice that's that dry, it freaks me out a little bit. It's strange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying now. Yeah. So you're in the midst of the Royal Affair tour now. How's the experience of the tour been thus far?
It's been a great tour. Finally got a day off here and just relaxing in Detroit. We've played, I think, about 13 shows at this point, and it's just been such a blast. All the bands are playing great, and when doing the Yes set, we start tearing into Gates of Delirium, and it's something I will never forget. It's very, very special to her, and it's going really, really well.
I'm really glad to hear that. Does it give you a thrill when you hear that a new Yes classic is on the set list, like Gates of Delirium?
Well, I've been lobbying for that since I rejoined the band.
Right on.
Bass,
right on.
Because that's one of my personal favorites, and it was always the most challenging. I think of all the long pieces there are to play, which we've played a lot. I mean, we've done two sides from Tales of Topographic Oceans. We've done Close to the Edge and other pieces that are quite long. But Gates of Delirium has the most challenging, I think, personally, Chris Squire bass composition of all the Yes records. So fortunately, I played to that record when I was a kid every day to get my chops up. So I knew that record like the back of my hand, which served me well once we really got serious about playing it, because all those hours of playing that record as a kid finally kind of paid off and served its purpose.
Yeah, probably the only thing I can think you guys going further would be to cover Sound Chaser.
Yeah, exactly right. Maybe next year.
Right. Who is in charge of the set list decisions, or how does that come about?
Steve usually does it, and we have suggestions along the way. But Steve's got a really good sense of ebb and flow in a set, and dynamic and keys, which, if too many songs are in the same key and they're bundled up together to move them around, tempos and all that type of thing. So we sort of just wait for Steve to give us the set list, and then, of course, anyone's allowed to throw in their opinions, but usually he's pretty spot on, I've found. So it's all good.
Nice. Through your association with the Yes, you've become friends with and played on stage with two of rock's most revered bass and guitar players. Did you ever have any formal bass lessons with Chris in your years with him, or did you learn more from observation?
There's never any kind of lesson giving going on, but I had a pretty good idea of his style, because growing up, I played along to all those records and was always being told in my earlier bands, can't the bass just stay on the G chord? It's a G chord.
Right.
I would say.
Different kind of music.
Do that. No, I want to do this. And so I was always into that sort of exploring how to make a bass more interesting inside of a band. And I guess that school of thought is what led me down the road that I'm currently on. And I, of course, looked over Chris's shoulders for many, many tours and picked up many little techniques and tricks along the way. But I'm pretty much self-taught,
Yeah. How would you characterize the relationship between you and Steve Howe?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's fantastic.
Like if there was a word to characterize it, what word do you think you would choose?
I think respect, really, at this point, is the best word, because he doesn't say anything to me. He just lets me do my thing, and obviously vice versa. What am I going to tell Steve how to do? So I think there's a level of respect there between musicians that's quite strong, and we're also very good friends. So it's a nice feeling in the band right now.
Yeah, sometimes at shows I've seen Steve grinning as he watches you play across the stage during certain songs. Any idea what he's thinking in those moments?
How the hell did he get here? I don't know.
Right.
I'm not quite sure, but as long as he's smiling, I'm a happy
Yeah.
guy. I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah.
There was a funny period for a while where I was getting looks from Steve across the stage, and I'm thinking, well, this is the right part. What's going on here? And then after the show, I'd ask him, so what was going on with the looks? He said, no, I was trying to get the monitor guy's attention because the monitor guy's set up on my side of the stage,
Right.
and I'm right in the line of his eyesight. So
Yeah.
I've now learned to sort of, when I see that look, I realize, no, that's not for me. I just got to get out of the way and let him
Stay out
talk
of
to
the
the
way.
monitor guy.
Right.
But it's great. I mean, I've known Steve a long time, and we've obviously gone through a lot together. Not only with the productions of records, but, playing guitar alongside him for years, and in the Open Your Eyes latter days, and then leaving the band, coming back in. And so we have a long history at this point, as I do with the same with Alan and Jeff and these guys. So it's a strange thing for me, because Yes was always my favorite band in the world growing up. And, I've been in and out of it several times, and it's just seems to be where the magnetic pull for my career is the center of is really Yes at this point.
Yeah, and really, you've almost had that same relationship, it seemed like, with Trevor Rabin back in the Talk days, and you kind of carried that torch forth. I mean, after Trevor wasn't in the band anymore, you were the one playing Cinema, so it seemed like you had that close relationship with Trevor at a time, and now you've got the close one with Steve. It's really cool in that way.
Yeah, it's strange. I never would have imagined this is where life was going to take me in a million years. I mean, I never imagined I'd work with my favorite band, and then I did, and that sort of changed into just becoming friends with the guys. But I never in a million years thought, none of us ever thought Chris would be going, at such a young age. So that took us all by surprise. But I never imagined Chris asking me to do what I'm doing. I mean, in a million years, the thought never crossed my mind. I mean, when he first called me and started talking about the fact that he was sick and that they wanted to continue touring, I told him, well, you can't do that. You're Chris Squire. They're just going to have to wait.
Right.
And he kind of said, yeah, I guess so. And I said, well, tell the band, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. So he called me the next day and with the same thing again. I really want the band to continue, but I can't do it. And I said, well, they'll have to wait until about the third or fourth call, when Chris said to me, you're not getting it. I said, getting what? He goes, I want you to take my spot and do this while I recover. And of course, unfortunately, he didn't recover, but he wanted Yes to continue, which is a pretty noble thing for a rock and roll guy of his stature and his ilk, to have enough confidence, to not want it to end, but actually to want it to thrive.
Right.
After he's gone. That's who Chris Squire was. And that was, who my friend was. So, but I never would have imagined it in a million years. So at this point, I'm just doing my thing and hoping that the fans are happy with what we do, which it seems that they are, because these concerts have been amazing. There's been a lot of people in the audiences at a lot of these gigs, man.
Along those lines, Rick Wakeman once famously mused that the band Yes might continue for decades, even as younger generations such as yourself and John Davis and Jay Shellen joined the band. Do you see that as a possibility for Yes just continuing and evolving and rotating even with younger generations?
Yeah, I do. I could see that happening, because the music is so good, and it's like classical music, anything that's timeless is always going to be revisited. And while we would love all of the originals to still be alive, reality is life goes on, and we lose people as we go. So, but the music lives on, and I think that's important. And I think it will go on in the future. Whether I'm replaced by a human being or a
AI.
Sophia type AI robot, I don't know. We'll have to just see. Sophia might play it better than I can. I don't know.
Well, maybe technically, but you've got the Squire feel, so that's important. They got to get that down first.
Right.
And
Mhm.
with your role of kind of like peacemaker in Yes's history, do you personally have any hopes of a union style event or recording in the next few years for everyone who still
Well,
is on this earth?
what I know is this is that we're a really cohesive, happy working unit right now, and we're
Right.
doing this tour. I know Japan is coming. They are talking about the UK and Europe again for next year, and we've already started booking another summer tour. So, as we are as this entity,
Hmm.
uh, that question's a little above my pay grade, but from my perspective, I just see us going along this same course right now because we're a really happy unit moving forward making music. So I think there might be the possibility of a new album and obviously more touring. But as far as I know that the fans always speculating on another union type scenario, but I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of a long shot, to be
Hmm.
honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like Steve follows the keeping the Yes music as it was recorded mode, and John Anderson often does different kind of arrangements and variations of the music. Where do you fall on that spectrum, if and at times when you're recreating Yes music, whether it's for the Squire tribute or other things? Do you feel it should stay true to its originally recorded form, or are you more
Well,
open to
it's
arrangements?
it's funny because as I've made a lot of various tribute albums
Right.
to great bands and had great artists involved. And I remade The Wall with 40 iconic prog rock, icons. And my motto was always to keep the song structures in the same feeling because that's how the artist wrote it. And so I didn't want to disrespect the arrangement in that way. And so by the same token, I'm a bit of a purist. When I listen to music or go see music live, I'm sort of a bit of a purist, and I think Steve falls in that same category in terms of, if it's right, don't mess with it. So we don't really tinker around with the arrangements, not because we're lazy and don't want to explore other things, but it's like if it's working, don't fix it. You can't play, da 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 without going da 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 right after it, or people are going to be upset.
Right.
So I think that's the main thing, and I think the music just speaks that way. That's how Yes always approached it, and they represented their music that way as the band. And I know Chris was a believer in that concept as well. So I fall more into the keep it like it's meant to be played sort of category personally.
Yeah, and you guys will keep playing it on this tour. For everyone listening, be sure to check out the Royal Affair tour because you guys have a lot of dates, and I'm really glad to hear it's getting a
Yeah.
fantastic response.
And you got Carl Palmer doing his ELP tribute first, with Arthur Brown joining him doing the God of Hellfire, doing
That's such a
Fire,
great idea. Yeah.
and he's amazing, and he's just super entertaining to watch and see perform. And then John Lodge, who I just had breakfast with, we've been touring around the country, basically together, separate traveling teams, but we end
Hmm.
up at the same hotel. So
Hmm.
I've really gotten to know and hang out with John Lodge. He's a super wonderful guy and really talented, obviously. And his band is great. They're great. And then Asia, of course,
Right.
where we play, and Steve joins us. Ron Tall is really killing it on vocals.
Yeah, I loved
And then we do
seeing
the
that.
Yes set. It's a really quite a musical night. There's a lot of music. It's big bang for your buck, so to speak. If you buy the tickets, it's quite a good show.
And you holding up well doing double duty on bass?
I am. It gets a bit much here and there, but I seem to be managing it. I mean, two completely different styles of bass playing.
Right.
But it's a challenge, and I'm always up for a good challenge. So it's been a lot of fun. I love playing with Carl too, because it's just, he's such an amazing, iconic piece of progressive rock history, and still playing just fantastic. And it's just so much fun to play with him. So I'm not complaining about any of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're getting the most stage time of everybody on this tour. It's quite a workout.
Me and Jeff.
Yeah, right. Well, thanks so much for chatting with us, Billy. I know you got to get going, but have a great rest of the tour and everything that's coming. And good luck with the Citizen album coming out.
Right on. I appreciate your time. Thank you, man.
All right. Take care.
Take it easy, bro. See you.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks to Billy Sherwood for taking the time to talk to us today. And thank you for listening to this interview. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do subscribe to the Sonic Perspectives channels on YouTube, on Facebook, and Twitter. We'd love to keep you up with the latest interviews, reviews, and news in the music world. And we're going to close our segment today with a track off the new Citizen in the Next Life album. And it seems appropriate that the one we choose be the one we referred to a few times here about the artificial intelligence known as Sophia. Here it is.
Sophia, just what the world's been waiting for. Sophia, but my present is the soul I'm looking for. Sophia, how am I supposed to love you? Sophia, when the uncanny valley keeps us worlds apart, I'm picturing you ruling over my world, and I don't like just what I'm seeing. It seems there's sorcery at play with humans in your way. Sophia, on display for all to see, the creature born of technology. Sophia, on display for all to see, and though she's smiling, something doesn't feel quite right. Sophia, what lies behind the calculating eyes? Sophia, her promise is programmed for mass appeal. Sophia, how am I supposed to believe you? Sophia, when the uncanny valley's always on my mind. And just because we can does not mean that we should. Just because the end all misguided invention. It seems there's politics at play with you.